it's hard for me to know where to start talking to you. There's so many things we could talk about, but I feel like we should start by talking about what's going on right now. Where am I talking to you from? Are you in Chicago right now?
I'm in New Jersey right now.
Is that your studio spot there? Is that like where you usually work out of?
Yeah.
So to give you a little context, I kind of came up in Chicago professionally as a DJ. That's where like all my formative years were. And
good place to start.
It was a great place to start. I mean, it's for house music, it's literally the start, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'd love to talk to you about all of that. Were you born and raised in Chicago?
Born and raised in Chicago.
Man. So what was it like? I mean, let's just jump into it. Like back in the day in Chicago, say you're a kid, say, you know, whatever age this comes to you, like what are some of your first musical memories? It doesn't even have to be you performing or anything, but just music around you, if it's something played in the home or something your friends or siblings are playing.
I don't want to say, but I'll say it. Okay. Seeing the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan show.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
When I was 5. So that's like the earliest, you know. Then I got into like the Monkees, and the parents used to play Aretha Franklin and a lot of Motown stuff. Aretha Franklin, Supremes, The Temptations, you know, a lot of that stuff all day long.
I mean, that Ed Sullivan moment with the Beatles, that's such you hear that referenced as such an iconic thing. Do you remember actually seeing it happen live?
Yeah.
Were people freaking out? I mean, the crowd or people watching on TV?
Well, the people on TV, the girls were screaming and stuff, you know, but like at home, you know, we were just watching it. But like literally the whole country watched it. You know, the parents didn't. I don't think the parents thought too much of it. They didn't run out and buy any Beatles records, but
sure. Yeah, it's always just interesting for me to try to think back to those moments we look back at and say that was a historic moment. But I always wonder what it felt like at the time. You know what I mean?
I was only 5 years old, so I mean, I guess the historic significance of the moment kind of escaped me.
Yeah, I think that's understandable.
See how it'd be completely different. Oh, this is historic, you know, but back then I was only 5 years old.
Of course. Well, what about when you got a little older? You know, what about when you're going into maybe your middle school years, getting to be a teenager, that sort of thing? What do you remember, like the first thing that really caught your ear and really made you like maybe changed your brain or just made you realize that maybe music was something that spoke to you stronger than some other people?
I just liked music, I guess, but I had a paper route at an early age, you know, about 7, 8 years old. I didn't start buying records, I think, until 69. Our first one was Led Zeppelin 2.
Oh, wow.
Because I liked the cover. And, you know, but before that, I was watching the Monkees, Banana Splits, the Partridge Family, a lot of different things.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is another question, right? I was talking to someone earlier today about how, you know, now we talk about house music as this institution, as this timeless thing. But again, it's interesting to think about a time before house music, right? And so I'm kind of curious, you know, I look at you as one of the founding fathers of house music. And for you, like, did the idea of house music exist when you were a kid? Like, if someone said house music, what were they talking about?
I didn't know what they were talking about until the 80s, after I went to the Music Box and saw Ron Hardy play. You know, there were house parties going on, but I didn't think about house music until I went to the Music Box.
And for the people who don't know, what was the Music Box?
Music box was a big room with one dim light bulb in it. And, the loudest sound system I ever heard in my life.
Sounds great.
Yeah. And they played dance music. Ron Hardy played all kinds of stuff, man. Just everything. Like he would play Frankie Goes to Hollywood, and he would play disco, and he would play like New York stuff from New York and the UK and Italy, everything. So I remember Sweet Dreams by Eurythmics. He would play that, and the people would freak out.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's so interesting to think about, 'cause with DJing nowadays, it's very, you play one genre and you get identified. What'd you say?
It's very formatted. We formatted ourselves, and that's the thing is, back in the day, you had everything on one dance floor. And that was the thing. Chicago did it better than just about any other place in the world. As far as black people, you would have 5,000 black people on the dance floor listening, and they would be jamming the Rock Lobster by the B-52s. That's
wow.
Frequency 7 by Visage. It was like a different thing, a different vibe.
So yeah, I'm curious, what kind of crowds would go out to these early clubs, the same ones you were going out to have these sort of formative experiences?
Well, it was mostly a black crowd. People really wanted to party. And the thing about house parties were there was no violence. Chicago had a lot of violence on the South Side. Ever since the early 70s, what happened was Chicago law enforcement decided to eradicate all gang leadership. And what happened was, used to be you would have a gang leader oversee the entire neighborhood, right? After they eradicated the gang leadership, it splintered off into you would have a different gang on every block. And that's why, so you walk on the next block and you get shot at. And that's the same situation. They've never solved it.
I was going to say, yeah, it's even just from living there in the 2000s. I mean, you would see that, yeah. That's why rap took over, because in Chicago, blacks on the South Side hated rap. They don't want any parts of it because that will bring out the gangs. Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah. For a long, long time, blacks couldn't stand. They wouldn't go to a rap party because that would bring out the gangsters and the violence. But in New York, the gangs were actually throwing the parties. So if like say the Zulus threw a party, and you decided to try any funny business, they take you in the back, and your friends wouldn't see you anymore. So it was a way different vibe. The rap parties were safe, and while in Chicago there was danger, Will Roberts, so we couldn't do that. But what we did do, we came up with house music by accident. The Warehouse was a well-known gay club, right? So we say house party, and the gangsters say, "Oh, I ain't going in there,"
Right.
And they played a lot of European stuff, but it wasn't funk, and the gangsters liked funk and rap, So back then we made it a point at house parties not to play funk and rap because that would bring out the gangsters. That was gangster music at the time. We evolved a little bit, yeah. So it was completely against the vibe. That's why you have like the Chosen Few picnic. It's 50,000 black people there, and you don't even need security,
right.
because it's not a gangster vibe. It's not that kind of a vibe. And that's how it took off. It was the safe party. That's what made it popular. You go to a house party, you don't have to worry about guns, violence. there were no pat downs, no nothing. You just walk in and dance, right?
Yeah.
While if you go to a regular party, they pat you down, you search, sometimes you even have to go through a metal detector and all that. They're going through all your stuff, and they got the rude bouncers and stuff.
Yeah.
That was a regular party. But like at a house party, nobody's worried about security. Nobody's thinking about it. And it's been like that for like 38 years now. So
yeah,
that's what worked for Chicago.
Yeah, it's fascinating, man. And I have to think, correct me if I'm wrong, but if it was kind of the safe way to party, because I think a lot of times, usually if young kids are running off to clubs, their parents are going to have something to say about that. How did your parents feel about that? Did they see it as kind of like, actually, this, it's good he's got something to do that's safe?
Well, I'd always had a job, so I couldn't wait to move out of the crib, man. I was out by 8. Like by the time the music bus came around, I was already working at the post office.
Oh, okay, right, I got you.
My parents didn't have anything to say.
Right.
But there are like a lot of younger people that crawled out their bedroom windows to go party at the music bus.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That wasn't me.
Was it an all ages club?
It seemed like it. It was certainly some younger people up in there. There were all kinds of people in there. Everybody.
Incredible. And so you said you would go there to see Ron Hardy DJ. Did that give you the idea? Was that sort of what planted the seed that maybe this was something you wanted to get involved with?
No. What planted the seed was Jesse Saunders coming out with that record, On and On.
How did you hear it?
I was in Loop Records, and it was Jesse Jones, who was later Master C&J, had set aside a section. Jesse Saunders, hot, right? So I said, oh, it's hot. Okay. They didn't have like audition things at that time. So I took Jesse's word for it. I took the record home. Said, what the, but it was so simple, and it sounded like something I could make myself. Right? There were records that were considered house before that, like Colonel Abrams and all that stuff. But that stuff was too good. Jesse Saunders, On and On. I said, I can do better than this. And, no, seriously. It started the whole thing. DJ as the artist, right? Colonel Abrams wasn't a DJ. None of these people were DJs, right? And all the, it just, it's like a light bulb went off, and the whole city started making music, house music, dance music, and people who never would have thought about making a record before. I was, it was the furthest thing from my mind. But that one record said, I could possibly make music myself. I can make records. So it started everything as far as I'm concerned. If I wouldn't have heard that record out, I would probably still be working at the post office, because it was a lifetime job,
Right, of course, yeah. So when I knew I was coming to talk to you, I was reading some old interviews of yours, and I found one quote that I thought was really interesting, and I think applies to this. Is you said something along the lines of, Chicago and the birth of house music showed non-musicians that they could make music too.
That's what it did. That was that one song, Jesse Saunders, On and On, right? These days, a lot of people are very protective of their legacy, and that, I try to explain to them they don't have to be like that. That record started your career, started my career, started everybody's career. Every single DJ that's an artist right now owes a debt of gratitude to Jesse Saunders for doing that. All this DJ this DJ culture, playing in other countries and all that. That's because of Jesse Saunders. Because before that, DJ would have never thought of being an artist.
Mm.
You had to be a rapper or a proper singer, but DJ as the artist, no, we didn't. That didn't exist back then.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. So, somebody like a Ron Hardy or someone who was playing heavy in the clubs at that time, was that, at that time, was that sort of the highest achievement people were aware of, for like, if you wanted to be a DJ, was that success?
I wanted to DJ with that kind of success. He was very popular, but he wasn't rich.
Right.
I wanted to be rich.
That's a good goal.
Yeah, I had a different goal. At first I just wanted like records out, but then I realized that I had to, if I wanted to really get the ball rolling, I had to get everybody paid, right?
Right.
So I calculated it, and I said, well, I'll mess up a certain amount of records, I'll be able to pay everybody this, pay everybody that. It was always the collective, the group. That's the philosophy I've had my whole career. Everybody gets paid. Everybody everybody has to get something out of it. If I don't know a way of making money from the project, I won't do the project, because it's wasting everybody's time. Because you do a song and nobody gets paid, it's soul destroying, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
You get no money, you get no recognition, you don't get anything. But everybody gets paid. That's good. That's everybody gets paid, everybody gets played. So that's inspiration. That's a lot better. So that's what I've always tried to do.
Yeah, well, that's a great goal to have, man. And I think especially for something like the music business, which is still, even in 2021, such a Wild West kind of business.
It's more of a Wild West now than it was back in the day.
You think so?
If I started out today, I couldn't make it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because when I first started, it was a maximum of 500 records a week coming out.
Yeah.
Now there's a minimum of 100,000 records coming out every week.
It is insane.
100,000 records have to compete with last week's 100,000 records. They have to compete with last month's 400,000 records.
Yeah, you're absolutely, point taken. That when you put it that way, it's pretty inarguable.
A single DJ that will listen to 100,000 records a week.
Yeah.
Hours a day to do it. And, even if you don't sleep, there's just too much music, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of great songs are not getting heard, Back in the day, I could make it on talent alone, right?
Yep.
Completely unknown guy. If I make a great record, I could get a hit, right? And it happened.
Yeah.
So, but now that can't happen. You have to have some kind of promotion. You have to have some kind of backing, financial backing. But it's impossible now. 100,000 records a week, you're going to get lost if you got no promotion. If you got no promotion, no known artist, no known DJ, no known producer, no known remixer, nobody's going to hear it.
Yeah, no, it's super hard, man. I talk to people on this podcast all the time about these kind of issues, and I always get asked advice about how do I get my music out there, that kind of thing, and it's really hard because there isn't kind of a magic bullet answer for that anymore. And it makes me wonder. So, you were talking about your early records that you were putting out. And so I guess let's start with how you came to music production in the first place, before you even started putting the music out.
Right.
How did you decide? What was the thought even that you wanted to make this music yourself?
Jesse Saunders record, On and On. You know, I didn't know how exactly I was going to do it, but I knew I wanted to do it. Coincidentally, a friend of mine who was a guitarist, he needed a ride to Guitar Center. I gave him a ride to Guitar Center. You know, he looked around at the guitar salesman, came up to him and said, yeah, we got this new thing, this Yamaha QX1. It's a sequencer. Sequencer, what's that? I said, man, with this thing, you can play keyboards like Stevie Wonder, even if you don't know how to play at all. So I said, oh man, wow. You know, and so, you know, my friend, man, you gotta take lessons, you gotta practice, man. Don't believe that booze, you know.
Yeah.
But I believed him, right? Said, I want to get one, man. He said, how much is it? He said, oh, this one is $3,000. Oh man, I don't have that much. He said, well, where do you work? I said, the post office. Ding, instant credit, right? $10,000 credit line, right on the spot, right?
Oh yeah, so he was giving you the whole sales pitch.
Oh man, so I got the QX1, ready to walk out the door. He said, wait a minute. I said, huh? He said, you need a keyboard. You got a keyboard? I said, no. Yeah, you need a keyboard. You know, it sequences keyboards. If you don't have a keyboard to play, you won't hear anything. I said, oh yeah, I do need a keyboard. So I got the keyboard ready to walk out of the door. Wait a minute, I said, huh? I said, you got a drum machine? I said, no, I don't have a drum machine. I said, oh, I need a drum machine too. Said, right, I need a drum machine. I said, drum machine. Hey, you know what? You need a mixer.
Oh man.
I'm a DJ, man. I got a mixer already. Oh, you need a recording mixer, right? Man, I got a Gemini mixer, man. He said, oh, you need a recording mixer, man. I got this mixer right here, this Boss 8 channel mix. You can play 8 instruments at the same time. I said, oh man, I can't do that on my Gemini. So I bought the Boss mixer.
This is a good salesman.
Said, oh man, you know what else you need? You need a multi-track recorder, right? Multi-track recorder. Said, yeah, tape recorder. So I bought this Tascam Porta Studio, right?
Man.
So I was able to record, right? Then I just kept buying stuff, and I bought a keyboard module, right? And another drum machine. And the last thing he sold me was this this thing for $150. It's called a PB303, right? I say, yeah, you can make bass lines.
Oh, wow.
That's what I want to do. I want to make bass lines, right? So I bought a TB303. So I take the stuff home, and friends were nice enough to come over, and oh man, they made me feel like I was like 2 inches tall, man. I mean, they talked about me for like, stupid sucker bought all this stuff, don't even know how to play.
Right. They thought he got one over on you, yeah.
Man, I wrote my first song 2 days later. A little bit after that, I had Move Your Body Out. And DJ started hiring keyboard players and telling them to play piano like Marshall Jefferson.
Wait, that's crazy though. How long? So you got all this equipment, you didn't know how to use it, more or less, and how long did it take you before you made Move Your Body on that equipment?
Oh, a little over a year, maybe less than a year.
That's crazy, man. For starting at zero like that, that's crazy.
Yeah, but see, it was a natural progression. I knew what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it, right? What I would do, I was not a musician, right?
Right.
I got inspiration from the rock music I was listening to, like Led Zeppelin. Now, let me explain.
Yeah, I was going to say, where does the rock music come into the picture?
Led Zeppelin's first album was at normal speed, right?
Right.
Every subsequent album after that, they sped up the tape to make themselves sound like better musicians, faster than they actually were, right? I noticed the timbre changes in the drums and Robert Plant's voice, right?
Sure.
See, The first album sounds like they're dragons. You know, I'm gonna quit you, baby, right?
Right.
The second album, Led Zeppelin 2, Robert Plant's voice jumped like at least half an octave. Yeah. You're not fooling. Right?
Right.
And he couldn't duplicate that live. Well, you know, I mean, you know, a couple of years in and stuff, right? Because it was too high. But they sped up the tape, right?
Man, I actually didn't know that. I'm embarrassed I didn't know that.
Nobody knows, right? But I noticed. I noticed from a very early age. I could hear the timbre change. I could hear I could hear the drums sounded tighter. You know, John Bonham's drums, and you know, it was a lot of things that I heard. So with the Yamaha QX1, I would record stuff at 40 beats per minute, and I would speed it up to 120. Right?
Sure.
So like I play like dum, 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 right? And I speed it up to 120. Boom, 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 boom,
Right.
boom, right? But I'm actually playing it like boom, boom, like a 5-year-old, right?
Yeah, sure.
Boom, 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 right? And my friends would see that, and you know, like I must be a very non-threatening person because, you know, all my friends think they're smarter than me. They go, look at Marshall, I could do that, you know. So they started playing, you know, we couldn't afford any keyboard players, man. So they started playing the stuff slow and speeding it up. And that's how a lot of us in Chicago did stuff because we had no budget. There were no major labels here. You know, we weren't like New York where we get like a $10,000 or $20,000 budget, right? You know, or bring in David Cole to play some sessions, you know, something like that, right?
Yeah.
No, we had to play a lot of the stuff ourselves. So, you know, with that Yamaha QX1, it had a lot of innovative stuff. Like it had this blanket note lengthening feature. I could lengthen the note. Every note in the song, it would take 30 minutes to do because, you know, I mean, I could do it instantly now, but back then it would take like 30 minutes for it to process the whole song, right?
I mean, that's amazing, man. And it's crazy to hear you talk about that because I'll give people that piece of advice today. I do that, you know, with like MIDI notes, you know, because I'm the same. I'm not really a trained piano player. And yeah, you just slow it down, play whatever you want to play.
Play whatever you want to play. You can add notes on top of things and make chords, you know, and all kinds of stuff you can do, right? It's worked for me.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like I'm learning that you're actually the inventor of a few different ideas in electronic music that I didn't know. Because I mean, you might have been the first person who ever did that, which is, I know so many people who do that now.
Well, I was telling people, you know, well, Chicago didn't take much convincing. You know, all my friends they did the same thing. You know, but like I went over to England. I would tell them, you know, I would do some recording. I would tell them, yeah, you can play everything yourself, and they, no, I can't. You know, they go out and pay keyboard players anyway.
Right. So it was a new paradigm, man.
Well, Americans have a lot more confidence.
America,
you know?
I mean, isn't that always the story, man?
They're stupid, though.
You're right, exactly.
They're more confident, right?
Yeah.
Like I could go to England, I could produce a singer, and then, you know, it'll be an 11-hour session. Oh, I need to sing this part again. I need to sing this part again. And the first verse in relation to the second verse, you know, and you know, and they wanted to be perfect. You had to punch them in and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
States, the singers I work with, a lot of them, man, some of them, they'll do one take, mess up every note, come out the booth. Ain't that the greatest you ever heard in your life?
And you just got to work with it.
Confidence, man. It's confidence. I ain't singing that again, man. That's perfect, man.
Yeah, I definitely know some of those people too.
But it's a different vibe, man. It's all confidence. But that explains confidence is very important in the music business. You know, it's as long as you have the ideas in your head, you can do something special.
Yeah, no, I think that's the perfect way to put it. So, you know, talking about these early productions you made with all this confidence, or, you know, a minute ago you were talking about how if you made a song today, there'd be no way to even get it heard, right? So,
Right.
how did you get it heard back then?
Man, and it was so easy. I mean, I literally made a song at home. I took it to the music box. I made a reel of I've Lost Control and this other song called The Pleasure Exchange, which later became Under You on my Virgo EP. I gave it to Ron Hardy, and Ron Hardy started playing it. And I've Lost Control, people were like really going crazy on it. But
Yeah.
That was the one I used, the TB303.
Okay.
And there was nothing out there like that. Nothing. Nothing, man. The success of that, you know, I started giving Ron Hardy more songs and more, you know, and at one point I went to the music box. He played like an hour and a half of my music straight.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But I was jamming back then, man. I had a lot of good stuff. A lot of good dance music. But
yeah.
I couldn't do that today.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, is that the way that that the music would spread and people would find out about new records, was hearing them in the club?
Yeah. Well, that was our version of viral. See, Move Your Body, when I did that, I gave that to Ron Hardy and it blew up within like 2 months. Ron Hardy would sell cassettes to like people. And within 2 months, it was all over the city of Chicago. Right? Yeah. I mean, it was literally everywhere. And, you know, Larry Levan got a copy in New York and started playing it, you know. And, you know, I believe he got his copy from Frankie Knuckles, who was his really good friend.
Sure.
Then this guy named Alfredo, who was a DJ in Ibiza, got it, right? Alfredo started playing it out there. The next thing I know, England got a hold of it, and they were playing it in England. You know, yeah. Now, of course, like the song is saying, gotta have house music all night long with that house music, you know. So by April, May, this herd of like UK reporters came to Chicago to find out about house music. And they were interviewing all of us, you know.
Right.
You know, me, Farley, Chip, Rocky, Larry, you know, all of these people. Move Your Body wasn't even out on vinyl yet.
Wow.
Right. So they were following me around everywhere and asking me all these questions, and Move Your Body wasn't even out yet.
That's amazing.
Yeah, what had happened was I paid Larry Sherman to press it up, and he didn't feel it was strong enough, you know, to even press up on my own label. Right. So, yeah. But what happened was there was one night all the, you know, reporters were following Larry around, and Larry, I know all about house music, right? And he took them to a few clubs every time. And those clubs just happened to have Move Your Body on cassette. Every time they played it, you know, the crowd.
Yeah, it goes crazy.
The very next day, you see, Larry owned the pressing plant, right? The very next day, he pressed up Move Your Body on Trax Records, not my label, Trax Records.
Yeah.
And that's how it got on vinyl.
Man. And yeah, I mean, Trax, you know, at the time, was that the biggest label for house music at the time?
Well, there were only two labels in town. There was DJ International and Trax.
Right.
and you know, most of the people in Chicago went to one of those two labels.
Sure.
There was Bright Star and Dance Mania too, to a lesser degree, but main players were Tracks and DJ International.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I think people look back at those labels as such again, we started off talking about how things that didn't seem historic at the time, you look back and it's like, oh man, that was a real movement, right? Like so much that we know as dance music now started in just those few labels in Chicago.
Well, that was it's even historic to me.
Yeah, I bet it did.
It didn't, like I was in my 20s, so I was old enough to feel historic. I was thinking like 30 years from now, I'm going to be in the house music. There's going to be a house music hall of fame. I'm going to be the first inductee. I was thinking, man.
That's good. I mean, there's that confidence again, right?
That's that confidence.
Well, and I mean, Move Your Body, obviously, just what can you even say about a song like that? I mean, it's influenced hundreds, if not thousands of producers and songs and all over the map. Am I right that before Move Your Body, pianos in house music just wasn't really a thing?
No, it wasn't a thing in any music. Neither was the title anthem, the house music anthem.
Right.
So after that, now that song's an anthem. When you have a big song, peak hour song, it's an anthem. They call it now, right?
Right.
They were saying that before Move Your Body, the house music anthem. So that just the terminology came from that song, right? But the piano, I got that from Elton John.
Oh, from Elton John. Man, you're dropping Led Zeppelin, Elton John.
Yeah, but see, at that point, I felt the musicality was kind of limited, and I had a lot of, options, like, for instance, 7 Ways to Jack and, by Hercules, that was completely different from everything else that I'd done, but like, the Someday by C.C. Rogers and Taste My Love by Kim Mazzella and Devotion by Tin City. At that point, I was really kind of feeling myself as being different and defining the genre, because everybody else were pretty much kind of formatting themselves,
Yeah.
And I wanted everything to sound different. I wanted to expand the genre, so everything didn't sound alike. And,
I think it worked.
Yeah, it worked for a while, but I think we're stagnant again. We're very formatted now. But
I mean, that's true, right? And I while you were talking, I was thinking about modern dance music right now because, a question I get a lot or things I talk to my friends about a lot is this idea of how do you keep an art form that's been around now for, decades and decades? How do you keep it fresh and innovative without getting away from, the core, like what makes house, right?
Well, you can expand the genre, but it's just so formatted now, man. But one of the keys is it's never really become mainstream in the United States. It's more like an underground thing. So you don't have like real hit records in house music like you have in pop music.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that's keeping it underground. As long as it's underground, you don't get busted out that a lot of it sounds alike. A lot of it's formatted, right? As long as it's underground, people go in the club and they dance and they don't know that they're hearing a formatted set. They, so that's what keeps it alive in the States. That's what keeps up the excitement in the States. Europe is a different story because a lot of it plays on the radio, on regular rotation. And so it's held to a higher standard. You can't get away with being, corny.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Here in the States.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to talk more about your time in the UK in a second. I got one more question about Move Your Body before we move on from that, which is, I think this is another, you mentioned that the lyrics, it's house music, right? House music, house music, house music. You're kind of like pounding it into people's heads. And one thing I love is house music that talks about house music. Like, I feel like that's almost become a genre, like a sub genre or a stylistic thing is, you make a song that talks about house. Were you the first person to do that as well, do you think?
Chip, he was the first one, as far as I know, to talk about house music. Said godfather of house music, right? And he did Time to Jack. Time to Time to Jack, right? But my song, I'm like, gotta have house music with that house music, right? So it really drums it in. Well, what's house music? So like, so to this day, like, I guess I was thinking, okay, this is my rock around the clock. This is.
Oh yeah. I love all your references, man. It's all these inspirations I wouldn't have thought you had. You know what I mean?
See, that's the thing, right? I used to watch Happy Days, and they would start out 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock rock, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock rock, 9, 11, 12, 12 rock around the clock. Rock. Found out Rock Around the Clock was one of the biggest hits of all time, right? Yeah. Started rock and roll, that song, right? Nobody really knew what rock and roll is. So when I made Move Your Body, I said, well, nobody knows what house music is. They will after hearing this song.
That's great, man. I mean, again, that makes me think of this idea of confidence we keep coming back to, which is that, you just stepped out there and took that first step and said, no, I'll tell you what this is. This is it, And I think any young producers listening to this, now or when we drop it afterwards, that's such a good note is, you just gotta, whatever you're doing, you gotta believe in it. And if you don't believe in it, maybe work some more.
Yeah. And me and Chip, we gave outsiders an idea of what house music was.
I mean, that's early branding, right?
Yeah. Otherwise, we just have something, that DJs play. Move Your Body and like Godfather House. That's what took our music worldwide, as opposed to, just like disco. We had Disco Inferno or disco this or disco that, right? And you knew what disco music was, right?
Right.
So sometimes you have to name the music. Been a long time since a rock and roll. Little reminders and stuff. Right?
Yeah, I love this, man. I never really thought about this. It's so interesting.
That's the historical angle, I guess, that I was aware of when I made that. When I made Move Your Body, you have to name the music, and I was like so much in love with house music at that time. It was to me, it was the best. Well, the definition I use for house music, everybody, kick drum, snare. No, house music is the best and the coolest underground dance music. Yeah. That was, that's what Frankie Knuckles played at the Warehouse, the best and the coolest underground dance music. And that's the definition I used when I made it. I didn't necessarily have a certain instrument, or a certain, like a Rose piano or something like that. No. the best and the coolest underground dance music. That's house.
It's an
right?
attitude, right? It's an attitude and a community, maybe.
Right. You can have something with all the four on the floor kick. All right, piano. Oh, all right. Oh, I'm too sexy for my too sexy. That's not house.
Yeah, you're like, whoa. Yeah.
That's not house. But or Macarena, Macarena. That's not house. So it's like you said, it's an attitude. It's the underground, man, the underground clubs, and that's house music. To me, it is.
No, I think you're right. You get to say what it is, man. I think you've earned that.
That's my attitude when I make it. It's got to be cool. It's got to be underground.
So what was it? What was it like when you got out of Chicago? You put out Move Your Body, and all of a sudden, journalists are flying to Chicago to interview you, and you're going to the UK to play music. What do you remember about those early out of town shows and like sort of when you realized like where this music was fitting in globally?
Well, the crowds were off the hook, man. The first crowds on the East Coast, like in New York and New Jersey, they were freaked out. We would play everywhere, man. We would play in the Latin Quarter, right? Yeah. Where they would only play rap music, right? And it's get that house music, get out of here, and Move Your Body, come on. Oh, okay, I like that. Hey, that's So we would any kind of crowd. As soon as Move Your Body come on, and boom, right? Or say this other club called Sensations in Newark, right? We were walking to the stage. Y'all better be good. Y'all better be good, right? As soon as Move Your Body come on, all the hands are down.
Right.
Right. So it was one of those songs we could go anywhere and we turn it out. It was a good deal.
Man. And what was it like when you went overseas for the first time? What was it like going to the UK? And because it's interesting, right? Like the idea of the UK kind of taking what you guys were making in Chicago and what they were making in Detroit. And, back in the day, I think kind of the UK took it, they made it their own. And then eventually their form of it came back to the States, many years later. What was it like for you going over there the first time and seeing that reaction?
Well, some of the shows were great. Some of the shows not so great. Let me explain. Some of the shows were empty, right?
Right.
Even the empty shows, they liked the stuff that we were doing. But they were looking at us kind of funny, man. So a lot of people. Wearing suits and ties and stuff, and we were going to a lot of those clubs, right?
Suits and ties, really?
Yeah, shirts and ties, and women were wearing nice dresses and stuff.
Wow!
But those were the places that they were booking us. Places like the Hacienda, they were like a lot like Chicago, I remember hearing Pickering play a set, man. It sounded just like Chicago. He was playing all house music, and I said, "Oh man!"
Wow.
Yeah, and he was really good. But like it was an experience, man. It was a different vibe. Some shows.
And was that you and Frankie Knuckles out there the first time?
No, Frankie didn't go. I think he must have had a cash dispute or something. But his name was on all the flyers as the headline.
Well, I'm sure.
Upset us quite a bit sometimes. Sometimes we come on stage, "I'm from Chicago, Frankie Knuckles." Oh man, I'm about to beat somebody's butt.
Right.
But yeah,
man.
Yeah.
How did you like well, let me ask a two-part question. How did you like, that crazy rush of touring when you started getting into it? And how do you feel about it these days? Because I know, I mean, you've been a road dog for so many years now. Like, how do you feel about that lifestyle? Is it still the romance of it? Is it still there?
Not for the lifestyle. More so, getting in front of a crowd and playing.
Yeah.
The feedback for the crowd is always nice, but the traveling now, not gonna do it much longer. I plan to. I posted on Facebook that I was retiring 2021. This was back in 2019 before the pandemic, right? Yeah. So the shows I'm doing now are like reschedules, from last year when everything got canceled. So I don't know, man, how much longer I'll be playing. It's hard turning people down now because they really want to party. Yeah, really bad, and I want to get the ball rolling again. But at the same time, the road life is not favoring, my health much. Right. But they're paying me a lot more money now. So
well, at least there's that.
Down, right. It's hard turning it down.
Yeah.
But I think I'll be done in another 2 years.
Another 2 years. I mean, I think that's a good goal, man. And if you get 2 years later and, you're still having fun or you still feel like it, there's no rules to this, right?
Yeah, last year was supposed to be my farewell tour, right? Yeah. But that plans got changed. So I guess when things come back up again, that will be my farewell tour.
Sure. So. And you've been pretty productive musically the last couple of years too, right? Like I feel like you've been more productive putting out more records in the last few years than, the few years before that, right?
Yeah. Well, man, I was playing like every weekend for at least 25 years. Man. And like, you get back from the weekend, you come down and then, right when you don't want to do anything. You don't want to do any music or anything like that. So it's a trade-off. Either I produce or I DJ, right? One of the two, but I don't think I can do both. Yeah. So I'm going to do more records. More records. And
that's great. I mean, it makes me wonder, you've been on the road for 25 years. You've been making you've made so many records.
35 years.
35 years, man. And you've made countless records at this point. Like what keeps you here? What part of what you do is still fun and exciting? What part of it do you look forward to the most this far into your career?
Well, it's fun making records. The thing is, it's really hard to get something that's completely different out there. Right. Because, I mean, there's just not a label for it. They don't, you really have to convince a label, to take a chance on a new idea. But, I don't know. I just do new ideas just to do them. Sure. Nobody will hear them. Maybe I'll put them all out myself.
That would be cool, man. I mean, we started off talking about how, your new idea birthed this whole movement, right? And back then there was kind of no precedent for what you were doing then either.
Well, yeah, there was Jesse Saunders, and there was, there was, Farley Jack Master Funk and J.M. Silk taught. That was Steve Hurley and Keith Nunnally taught us how to perform and stuff, because they were performing like at least a full year before we were. So there's a lot of people before us. You fit in where you can, you do your thing. And, I did Move Your Body and a few other songs and the 10 City stuff. And
Yeah.
And, you know, I really think I expanded the genre somewhat.
I really think you did. I mean, there's so many records we could talk about. One I had written down that I wanted to mention was Acid Tracks with, with DJ Pierre, which, I mean, again, I'm not the best historian, but that was a very early Acid House song, right? I mean, maybe.
No, that wasn't very early. That was the first one.
Okay, good. I didn't want to say it and be wrong, but that's kind of what I thought. Yeah.
That was the first Acid House record.
It's crazy, man. Crazy.
And to give you an idea of how popular it was, that TV 303 that I bought for $150 6 months after Acid Tracks came out, I sold it to Bam Bam for $1,000.
Right, because everybody wanted the 303 once Acid was a thing.
You can't find one today for under $3,000.
Man.
So that was a physical change that one song did. Like I said, a lot of clubs had suits and ties and stuff. And we came back 6 months after Acid Tracks. Everybody was wearing T-shirts with smileys on them. So it really changed the landscape.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting too, right? These new pieces of technology and how that can change people's brains and the sound of music, whether it's the 303 and you making Acid Tracks, or whether it's, you sampling or sequencing these pianos into house music, all that sort of thing. Is there anything like, how do you keep up with technology these days? Because I mean, for music production, technology in the last 35 years has gone crazy. So many different cycles and evolutions.
Well, like I said, that QX1 to process a song, say I do a piano line, dum 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 dum, right, or a bass line, boom 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 boom, right. Okay, I say I want to copy this 200 times. Right. That would take half an hour.
Right. On the old gear, yeah.
But today, this laptop I'm talking on right now, I could have Facebook open. I could argue with somebody on Facebook. I could have a movie running. I could talk to you.
Oh yeah, you could be producing a whole song right now, and I wouldn't even know.
The whole song, and the same 200 bars. Copy it instantly. No wait time, boom, just like that. So yeah, it's as the technology is really improved. It's a lot more power now.
I mean, is that exciting? Was that kind of the way your brain worked? Was, you liked getting whatever the new gear was, you liked figuring it out, tinkering, that kind of thing?
Yeah. And seeing what new sounds I could get, and new like when I did Video Clash, I really liked the drums on that, there's that, and we did a whole song on for that, right? So it's new equipment brings new ideas of how to use it. I know that I may not use it like the next guy, but I'll find some kind of way of tweaking it. A lot of sounds I tweak myself, just messing around with it.
One thing I did want to talk about, we talked a lot about these early days and these tracks you made and these choices you made that have become so inspirational and influential for generations of musicians and dance music fans. And it makes me wonder, the explosion, like I'm sure you've seen a couple times, right? Like in the late 90s, there was this electronica wave that hit the States really hard. And then more recently in dance music, there's been, the EDM boom that really brought dance music to this much wider audience. Do you look at movements like that and feel a connection? Do you see your influence in that? Like, what is your take on those movements?
But like, they're doing their own thing, at the root of any movement is one or two great songs.
Yeah.
It's not going to start without the great song. And, somebody did some great music, man, to start those movements and keep them going. So hats off to them. I did my thing. They're doing theirs. And, let's just keep trying to make some great songs, some great dance songs, no matter who's doing it.
Well, I love that attitude, because that, to me, I wonder what you think about the idea of legacy, because I think I've seen some people who worry so much about their legacy or how what they're doing fits in or all of that I think it can become crippling, as opposed to somebody like you where, I think objectively you do have a legacy at this point, but if that's not where your mind is, right, and you're just thinking about let's make great music, that's, I think that's where the excitement is, right? That's where the fun is. Yeah,
well, look, my thing is just make great music. I'm really aware of my legacy, and only thing I could do at this point is try to make some great songs to extend that legacy. Because I figure no matter where you go, somebody's using something that I used to do. Yeah. It's gonna come back to me, and I don't have to beat my chest about it. Somebody did. Marshall Jefferson did that. But it always seems to come back to me. Somebody always calls me and say, "Hey, well, so and so used this." I say, "Oh, okay, well, but I'm here,
right?
I'm here. Even after I'm gone, I'll still be here. The music will keep playing, and records don't get tired or old, I guess."
That's right. So, I mean, house music, there's something about house that is timeless in a way that a lot of genres aren't, Rock and roll, timeless music. House music, timeless music. But there's plenty of stuff we could talk about that isn't that timeless. And I don't know, there's something about it. I keep going back to what you said about, showing non-musicians that they could make music too. I think there's something in that, the energy of that music that I think just speaks to people. I don't know.
That was Jesse Saunders that did that. He got me started. He got everybody started. Without that one record, On and On, we would be having a completely different conversation now. Maybe we wouldn't even be in the music business.
Yeah.
The whole thing wouldn't have jumped off. No DJ in Chicago would have made a single record if that record hadn't come out. So that was Jesse Saunders and Vince Lawrence. This record came out. It was a known DJ, Jesse Saunders. And wow, Jesse made a record. I can do it too. I can do better than this. And I did do better than that.
Right. Which I think should be everybody's goal, right? Is kind of build off of what inspired you.
That's right. Somebody's probably listening to Move Your Body, say, I can do better than that. And they'll do better than that, right?
Yeah.
So, just like the TV 303 that I used on I've Lost Control by Sleazy D. Pierre and Future heard that and said, I could do better than that, right? And they did better than that, right? Or 10 City, with the violins and the live instruments. Somebody said, hey, I could do better than that. And somebody did better than that, right? But what we try to do in the first place is make a great song so somebody will hear it and say that they could do better than that, right?
Right. Yeah, that's the goal, right? Is just to build off of it. I mean, I love what you're saying, man, because it's such a humble viewpoint that I wish more people had, is that, we're all part of this thing. And the goal should be to contribute to it while you're participating into it. And to just, if you can inspire somebody with something that inspired you, I think there's no more like noble goal than that.
Well, I don't know about noble, but it's fun.
Well, that's a bonus, right? Yeah. You gotta chase the fun of it.
I mean, it was really fun in the beginning because I do a different idea. So, then I hear somebody else do it. I knew they were listening.
That's right. That's exactly right.
That was fun. I said, oh man, I'm going to try something else. And boom, they do this song. Oh, that's turned into an entire genre,
Yeah. Well, I love hearing you.
That's turned into a genre too,
Yeah, exactly. And you can kind of trace it back.
So, it's a good feeling.
Yeah, man. And I just love hearing you say that because I think so often, and this isn't even just dance music, but kind of any arts, any culture like that, the originators can oftentimes get left out of the conversation, right? And and it's, I don't know, I like hearing you talk about, that you can see yourself in all of this. Because I think that's important. And I've talked to people who don't feel that way.
Well, that's always happened. I mean, Mozart died broke, didn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, is the starving artists, Van Gogh and all those guys and Picasso, it happens, man.
No, it does. It absolutely does. But, I think maybe part of, for anybody listening, you want to know how to be a good citizen in your community and your culture is try not to let that happen, try to pay your respects and
try.
Well, you're good. I'm not talking to you. You don't need to do anything you don't want to do at this point, but
it's a never ending fight, man. I got to.
Yeah, no, of course, man. Well, and as we're kind of wrapping it up here, I think that brings me to ask, what are you doing right now? What should people be looking out for? I know you're in the studio right now. I know you're always working on something. What are you working on right now that you're excited about?
I've got like about 30 songs for a Marshall Jefferson album. And, open keys. We need the next single. We need the next single. I don't want to let them hear one song when I think another song is a single. So I got to figure out what the next single is. But I'm going to do it before the end of this month.
Great.
But I don't want to let them hear something that's not as good as the hit. So that's that's the business.
The quality control, man. I mean, I feel like that's probably something that's served you well over the years is that self-critical eye,
Maybe.
Yeah, well, it's not always fun to go through it, right? But this has been fantastic. As we're wrapping it up, is there anything we haven't talked about? Anything else that's on your mind? Anything else you want to get out there, man?
10 City album Judgment is out now. It came out 2 weeks ago.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, everybody listening, you got
10 City Judgment.
Man. And yeah, we didn't even get to talk that much about 10 City, but that's a full circle moment, right? Those are people you've been working with since you started, basically.
Right.
What is it like, here, this is a question for you. What is it like so many years down the line to reconnect with people you were working with from day one and that they're still around? That's got to be a crazy feeling.
Yeah, no stuff, but still being around is the biggie. But
yeah.
No, I never lost contact. I always talk with Byron like once a week, for like 30 years. And like, we just figured we'd work again together eventually. And 25 years went since the last album. and then Sleazy died. And we said, hey, man, it's not promised. We might die and never work on another album. So, that's what we did.
What was it? What was the vibe coming back and working with them after so long? Did it feel like old times?
Well, I was in England and Byron was in Chicago, so it wasn't like old times. But Byron was quick to bring up technology. I had predicted that I would be in another country and we would be working in real time.
Wow.
He likes to bring that up, but I predicted that 30 years ago. I would be able to worked from Italy, and he would be in Japan, and and we would be able to do that.
But it's so cool, man, to think about all of that, like a full circle moment. And I don't know, man. I appreciate your time talking to me. I really enjoyed this. I hope you did as well.
I really did, but I talk myself.
Well, I'll ask you the same question I ask at the end of each one of these interviews, and we'll let you go, man. It's kind of just the first thing that pops into your head kind of question. Just looking for a memory, a moment in your life, and it could be from any time when in a single moment, music really affected you deeply, really had a deep impact on you just in that moment. And it doesn't even have to be a significant moment, just kind of the first memory you think of.
That was before I got into music business. Right.
All right.
I'm not gonna say, but it was before I got into music business. And drugs are in the picture. Right?
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. I think you're not alone in having those kind of experiences early on with music.
I stopped doing drugs in 1986.
Man, I mean that's early for where we are now, man. I know a lot of people who.
Yeah, well, I wanted to see where my money was going, and everywhere I was going when I first started getting success, they were giving me freebies,
Of course.
And I realized after a couple of shows, there was this one famous artist, and they were giving me free drugs, and this famous artist, oh, so and so's coming, hide the dope. I said, so they give you something to yank you in, but they pull out.
You're right. Yeah, they're not going to stand behind you.
Yeah, because so I said, oh, okay, well, I can't do dope like this and expect to live a long time, So I just quit everything at the same time, even smoking.
Wow.
And look, I'm still alive. So.
Hey, absolutely right, man.
Hey.
Well, I love that with all of this, man, whether it's the, stopping all that early or just all of it. It seems like you had such a vision for what you were going to do early on. And I think that's super inspirational. The confidence we were talking about. There's a lot of things I hope people take away from this conversation, man. So thank you once again. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, man. I'm going to let you go. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.
All right. You too. Take care.
All right. Peace, man.
Peace.